Old gatekeeper here. Buddy of mine, Mr. Willard, dropped this bad boy down here on the way in from Bermuda. Flew across the blue waters and rented him a car and drove on down here to the gatekeeper's lair. And gave him a key to the gate so he could get in, because I am the gatekeeper. No, I'm just kidding. He dropped on by to see some family or whatever, and dropped this by to me. And this is what copper can look like living on an island surrounded by salt water, no doubt about it. Basically, he said he had got it from a guy. The guy had thrown some HGs in it. I don't know if the guy got these HGs from me or what, but these are actually the original, the HGs, the very first HGs that I was selling in the very beginning. These are the ones that had the, real black lettering on them. And even though they swear up and down they hadn't changed the circuitry, maybe just a little bit with the wafer since then, these do tune out on the output differently. They tune out a lot higher on the output, I've noticed. Because basically this was an Xforce with Toshibas in it, I believe. And the guy just dropped the HGs in it, wasn't getting the watts out of it that he was needing, because it needed some work done to it and also needed to be retuned. For example, this 150 right here was reading about 130 something picofarad. That could be due to a little bit of damage from it heating and cooling down so many times that it dropped a little bit. That's possible, but it needed a lot higher than that. So that's what these two 6,000 volt caps right here in series is equaling. What that tuned out to, a lot higher. It was like around 168, I believe. Pretty high. Pretty high. I've even seen them go all the way up to 200 picofarad on the very first ones we were playing around with. So anyway, I saw quite a bit of stuff this thing needed. It was a 2x4. He wanted me to drop it down to a 1x4. There wasn't no transistors in it in the driver section when I got it. I went ahead and dropped a HG2879 in the driver. I had to rebuild the whole driver circuit, as you can see. So, the 104 is 3,000 picofarad cap, 120. Took the 820 off, dropped the 1K right there, and tuned the 1-pill section, of course. Your variable was blown, man. It was not even reading at all. So it was completely blown. The taper in there must have blew so bad that it actually split in half. So I had to drop a new variable in there for you. Had to put a new knob on it because this variable takes a different knob. These are the Russian variables, built like a brick. So another thing, man, is the solder work in this thing was pretty hefty. Pretty loaded with solder. I got in here and basically had to solder suck a lot of the solder off. That's what you see all on the ground. I got a vacuum up here when I'm done. So I had to solder suck a lot of the solder off, put down some new solder, reflow pretty much all the solder that you see on the pill strips, the hot bus as well. I didn't like the way the power wire on the hot bus was sitting. The power wire was kind of laying off the hot bus, and there were strands of it loose and all that. I didn't like that. That's the way I like to solder a wire on the hot bus, like that, nice and clean, where there's no strands hanging off the hot bus. And now that I can see through my viewfinder here, I can see a little solder booger up on there I need to get. See it right there? That's what I like to do, is get in with a magnifying glass. This thing was pretty nasty. So anyway, I just cut that off on the power wire and resoldered it to the very middle of the hot bus so it could equally flow. The 120 over here wasn't soldered for some reason. I resoldered that. The screws on the pill right here was stripped out, and luckily I was able to save that with a pill screw twice the length. A lot of times you can get lucky that way because they, use a real short screw. They strip it out. There's still a little bit more aluminum down there that you can grab into, and just put a longer pill strip, and hopefully you get lucky. And so I got lucky with that. I used new pill screws for this right here, 4-40 self-threadens. New 100 ohm right here, through a 10 right there. I spent about an hour or so tuning the input of the 4-pill section because the input reflect was too high. It was like 1.5 watts. I had to start playing around with the capacitors on top of the transformer, because at that point that's all you can do. You're not able to get it low as you need to just by a capacitor on the splitter. So you've got to go change the actual LC circuit, or L circuit, excuse me, of the transformer. So I was able to get it down a little bit below 0.5 watt, which is acceptable. Let's see here. I cleaned a lot in here. I basically went in and cleaned. I should have took a before and after picture. There was nothing sitting here in between, so I threw two 1.8 ohm resistors right here to feed the output into the input. Whew. Good bit of stuff, man. Good bit of stuff. There's only one thing I do see that I forgot to do. Now that I'm looking at everything, it's not 100% mandatory, but I forgot to add a feedback circuit on the driver. Be right back. Alrighty, went ahead and added the feedback circuit to the driver. I knew something looked weird to me. So yeah, man, I had to go in here and do a bit of labor, a couple of parts switching out. Next thing I had to do was put a new fan on here for you. You asked me to put a new fan on there anyway, but for the fun of it, I was just going to hook the fan up to see how fast it was spinning and see if it was an LED fan. I hooked it up, man, and went up in smoke. I just went up in smoke. I'm like, what in the world? Yeah, he needs a new fan. So I dropped the new fan in there for you, bud, and I cleaned the top for you as good as I could get it. Tell this box has been used a bit. And went ahead and added a ground as well to your remote plug right here to the board. That is a signature thing I always do, just in case you're ever using a wireless remote or something in the future, to make sure even if that thing comes loose, it's still got a ground to the board. So alright, man, if I did leave anything out, man, it's probably nothing too serious. I just, had to kind of go around it, put some tender love and care on everything, and retune the whole box from the front to the end. And it's not doing as much output as a Toshiba box would be doing, or maybe a newer HG box. See, plus I don't know what state these are in. I don't know how long they have been used. I don't know any of that. So I got the box doing as much as I possibly could with what we're working with. So here are the results. Alright, this is going to be dropping right there about 14.8 volts. I'm not even going to go on the high tap with this. I'm not even going to hook the small radio up. Well, I guess I do need to show you the input reflector. Maybe you can just trust me. The input reflect is like less than 1/4 watt. I wouldn't even let it go if it wasn't. But anyway, so I'm just going to hit it with with the stickman radio real quick. Let you see what she's doing. A little bit, just under 15 volts. 1,000-watt slug. Make sure the box is on. 1,000-watt slug. Oh, right there at 400 bird. Oh, right there at it. PEP. Go. About 850 watts, creeping up to around, well, actually it was about 900, I think. Oh, almost 900, about 850 or so. So that's good for what we're working with, man. If I ran it on a little bit more voltage, probably 15.5, it'd be, you know, doing over 1,000 peak then and all that. But just run it easy, man. Don't run it on high volts, etc. And let me unhook this thing. I can't hook the fan up right now because I'm on the unregulated supply. I've got a 4.7 ohm resistor on the fan, but I ain't gonna test it. I ain't gonna sit here and risk blowing a brand new fan, that's for sure. God, I gotta drink. I gotta clean this dang bench, man. Look at that. That's all blown pills just from this week that I've replaced. And it's about to be Thursday now, so that's just from Monday to today, till tonight. And I've already cleaned this bench. I hadn't cleaned the pills off, but I've cleaned the bench off at least 3 times this week. Alright, big brother, I'm glad to get this thing up and rolling for you, man. I'm trying to get in touch with you. I know you're going back to Bermuda in the morning. I'd like to see if you can swing by and pick this bad boy up, man, so you don't have to worry about waiting for it and this and that. So I can get paid too. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get paid, dog. Oh, Willard, no, I'm just picking at him. Like he said, we brothers from another mother. All right, give me a second. I'm gonna get the fan put on and everything, get it mounted, and I'll hook it up to the regulator supply too while I'm at it. So I just want to see the fan working, and plus I'll show you the input reflect too. Be right back. All right, brother, I went ahead and put all. Dang, man, the dang camera cut off. Anyway, I remember taking 4 of these screws out of this box, but I couldn't find the holes where they went in. Ain't that weird? I think somebody had forced them in. I went ahead and put the right size screws back in, and of course I couldn't get a screw in this one because the back's dented in, and I didn't even know it was dented in like that till I was done with the amp, because I had the top off the whole time. But yeah, it looked like somebody dented the back end pretty good, or maybe it was done that way when somebody had shipped it to somebody. But I know, you know, you brought it over here, so. But I wasn't able to get a screw in that one. But it's airtight still, even though it's pushed in a little bit. The air is flowing really nice. Very nice. Got some good air going through it now. Let's take a look at the input reflect. 5-watt slug. Are you kidding me? There we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's take a look at the dead key too on the 1,000-watt slug. This is a 1-watt dead key going in. Creates about a 50-watt dead key. That's pretty low. Let you see the variable all the way down, back up. All right, man, she's working. She's done. Only one more thing I see that I need to do for you. Dang thing has been sitting here rocking the whole time I've been working on it, because one of legs fell off. Sticker bumpers. I think I've got one just like this in my bag over here, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw that on there for you. All right, brother, I knew I had them, just not the same color. I had some clear ones, same exact bumper feet, but just not the same color. I went ahead and put you a clear one on there, man. Heck, you can't see the bottom wire you're using, so at least now it ain't gonna be sitting there rocking back and forth. All right, man, I got this Xforce HG convert back up and running the best of its ability. Took a little bit of labor, a little bit of work, a little bit of love, but the GK did his doggone thing. I'm just kidding. I'm feeling good, y'all. Had a pretty good week. 73s, y'all, and God bless. Oh, gatekeeper, we're gone. Bye-bye. I'm hitting the sack. Bye-bye.